Hi guys, it's Tammy with Cheers to Creativity, and I'm here tonight to paint some wildflowers with you. And I'm going to show you just a couple things I've done the wildflowers on in the past, just to let you know that it's really endless what you can do with them. They're fun, they're easy, and we can put them in lots of things. So behind me is a window I actually did for Essential Stencil, and the wildflowers are down below, and then I just used one of their stencils, this would happen to say Wildflowers, and did it on the top pane. Essential stencils are great for things like that and other things, and right now they've just released some new spring stencils that you can pre-order. And if you do decide to go on and take a peek, use my code CHEERS and you'll get 10% off your order. Nice to know. Other things I've done are lovely wildflowers are like on an empty bottle, and then I fill them with a wine cork light. So that's something fun in case you happen to have any extra bottles around. And here's one done on a tin bucket. Wouldn't that be pretty with some flowers in it come this spring? And how about some little bird feeders? This is just done with some cups and saucers that I found at a thrift store, and I actually painted them, and then we used an epoxy glue to glue the saucer on top of the cup so we can just sit or can hang. So I've got my sweet husband here helping me get this shared over to our page, and we're there, so I can kind of quit talking. And I'm gonna sit down, and I'm just gonna paint the flowers tonight on my mixed media pad, just so you can just see the flowers. But if you have any questions at all, let me know. Let me turn this so it's the right side up for you guys. Sorry. It's always hard to do this. Oops, wrong way. Sorry. This one. Nope.
Just turn your cheer sign around.
No, honey, I don't want to paint upside down. Because I'm going to paint this way.
Okay.
And yeah, we'll do the best we can. I guess I'll be doing it upside down. And we're going to get started. You're just going to need any colors you want to use. If you want the colors I'm going to use, just put color guide in the comments or wildflowers, and I'll make sure I get into the comments a list of the colors I used and a couple extra little tips that I did come up with for you guys. Blend it in. I don't know if we're upside down or right side up. We're upside down. But I did this little flyer for you guys. Let's see if we can turn it right side up now. No? Very strange.
That's right side up right now. Okay. Hold it there for a second. Okay, now it's upside down. Turn it back to the way it was. There we go. Now it's right. Now it's upside down right now. But don't wait. Just wait, because I'm a few seconds behind.
Okay. Sorry guys. Give me a sec. I should be able to tell here in a second as well.
Right now it is upside down.
So if I do this, we should be right side up.
There we go.
All right. Sorry guys. Friday night glitches. What can we say? I would love for you to go by and look at our Facebook page and like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, or if it's vice versa, however we're supposed to do it. On my page, you'll find lots and lots of projects that we really break down step by step. So even if they look a little more complicated, we break them down so they're much simpler to do. That's kind of what I'm doing with tomorrow's project, which is Pete the bunny. He's kind of the company piece for another bunny I did, and both of those you're going to be able to get the tracers and instructions for. But this is tomorrow at 3 o'clock, and you'll see we actually added some of the wildflowers on him as well. So it looks like I need to move a little closer one way or the other because I've only seen part of his head. What do you see on yours, Al?
I'm seeing the whole bunny.
You're seeing the whole bunny.
I mean, his face is about in the middle of the screen and his feet are down towards the bottom. That's a little better.
All right. Because that's not what I see on my iPad. So, all right. We'll trust that you guys are seeing what my husband is seeing on his camera, and we're going to get started. So we can go ahead and do any color background that we want, but for tonight's sake, I'm just going to start with the flowers. And actually, I'm going to start with the grass. I'm going to take a couple colors of green, or if I don't have a couple colors of green, I'm going to take green and yellow and green and white just to have a couple different shades. But for now, I've got some Hauser green and I've got a little bit of Hauser green light and Hauser green dark. You can do your grass with either a flat brush using the skinny edge of the brush, the chisel edge, or you can use a round brush. If you do pop on, let me know that you're here and where you're from. Helps us know if we are reaching people and if we are showing up in the right spot. I tell you, between the different challenges with Facebook and just technology not being my friend lately, lives went from being super easy to super challenging. But you can use either brush. I'm going to show you the grass with both of them. Depending on what surface you're working on will determine how much paint you're going to want in your brush. If I was treating this more like watercolors, I'd want to thin my paint with a little bit of water, just adding extra water in my brush and pulling to make a little watery puddle. Whenever I do that, I always tap it to my paper towel before I go onto my piece, but I would be doing it the same way. So this is watered down. I would just be going up and back and up and back. There is no special way. If I wanted to be thicker paint, I'm picking up just my straight paint. This is my dark green. And again, I'm just flipping up and back, up and back, up and back, and I'm crisscrossing here and there. This way I have different texture and different heights into my grasses. And you're going to decide how much grass you want. You might want to flip to your lighter color. And when some of those colors are wet underneath, they form another color. Perfectly fine. I truly believe there are no wrong in painting. There's only design change, and we are the designers. So it's kind of like if you make a mistake when you're dancing, you just make it part of the dance. When I'm doing the wildflowers as a main picture, I like to make sure if I have grass that goes quite high up too. You want to make sure you've got some background stuff happening, so you have grasses behind your flowers as well. And you can always come back and add more too if you feel like after you get your flowers in, that was not supposed to happen. So let's see if we can fix that. It's a very big glob. This is where a little paper towel or a Q-tip could be very handy, and some clean water. Or just knowing that there's going to be a big flower there. But I've just dampened. I'm just going to take a little of that off. Sorry about that, guys. It was not supposed to happen like that. But we'll make it part of the plan. We'll just make sure we have a little extra of that color all the way across our background. And I can do the very same thing with a round brush. Just picking up my paint and up and back, up and back. Just going to give you little thinner strokes as I go up on my tip. And if I push down on my round brush, it'll get a little fatter. All right, we've got grass. Let's see what else we can do. All right. So there are really just a couple different types of flowers when we're doing the wildflowers, and they're faux wildflowers. They're not exact by any means. But I have our taller flowers, which are like, flowers, which are like the ones behind him. And then I have round flowers, and then I have a little bit of petal flowers as well. So for this guy, we're going to start by showing you how to do the taller flowers. When they're closer to the ground and they're not so tall, I think of them as like being the shape of a hyacinth. They're a little fatter at the bottom and they kind of come to a little bit of a point. So I'm going to take a little bit of purple. This is dioxide purple. If you don't have a purple, mix some blue and red together and you can come up with a pretty cool purple. All you really need to have is your yellow, your blue, and your red, and those are your primary colors, and we can mix pretty much everything from that. But most of us have more than 3 paints in our arsenal, so we tend to use more than 3 paints. Okay, I'm going to pick up the paint with a round brush, and I'm just going to dab and pick my brush up, dab, pick my brush up, and I'm just going to make these dabby motions. They're not a stroke per se. I'm just making them a little wider at the bottom and let it getting a little narrower at the top. And I'm going to put a few of those in here. They can be at different heights. And it really does not matter. I started at my bottom and worked up, but if you want to start at your top and then just get wider as you come down, it helps to have a little paint on my brush. The other way I can do those same flowers, just rinse that purple on my brush, is if I take what I call a well-loved brush. This is one that has maybe seen some abuse. Or you can also use a brush that has a little stiffer bristles. But I'm just going to tap into it. Instead of going straight to my paper, I'm just going to tap it a couple times on my plate. And then I would just do, starting at my bottom, and tap. The difference on those two, if you can see, is that these are more blobby and this is a little more airy. Both of them work. It's just kind of the look that you want. I'm just going to go ahead and do one more over here. I kind of like odd numbers in my flowers. I can wait until they're dry and come back with another color or a highlight. Or if I want those colors to blend while they're still wet, I can do that as well. So this is still the same brush I just used in the purple. I'm going to pick up just a touch of white. And again, I'm tapped it just a touch. And I'm just going to tap a little bit on one side of my purple flower. And it's hard to see because I've got a lot of the background that still shows through. So I'll pick up the round brush I used. Remember, we had purple in it. I'm going to pick up the white. And I'm just going to tap a couple little taps. And if my paint is still wet, it'll just blend together. I'm working on a multimedia pad, so it's paper, so it's going to dry a little quicker than if I was doing this, say, on a canvas. It just gives it a little more interest. I'm going to do that same flower with some red, just so you can see it again, and we can build our colors up a little bit too. Let me show you here really quickly. So this has the, I'm turning it upside down. I'm so used to painting upside down, I don't have to today. So there you can see I've got the purple ones, and I'm going to come back in and I'm going to add some of the red and some of the yellow ones. So I'm going to do the same with that round brush. Picking up a round brush and my red paint and laying some of these down. They don't all have to be super tall. You might have some that are tucking down a little closer to the ground. They can have a bit of a turn to them. Well, this guy is still wet. I'm going to go ahead and I can either pick up white or yellow, because yellow will come back in and touch on that side and kind of give me almost an orangey highlight on that one side. So there we've got a couple of those, and let's just go in and do a couple yellows as well. And I'm going to do a yellow one here. Yellow is a very transparent color, and so many times, even if you're working on more more transparent colors to begin with, you might need to come back and give it a second coat. And this too, I can either come back with white to give it a little highlight on one side, or I still had a little red in my brush, so it kind of is doing it automatically for me. It's kind of nice. Tap, 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 tap. So a very easy way to get some background flowers going. And I knew I had this guy happening here, so I've got to do something with that one. I think we're going to go ahead and go back maybe with a little red. No, why not? We'll just give it a, just going to break up all that green that was there. Now, if that green was still wet, this would be very muddy. So that's one thing to think about with acrylic paint, is it dries quickly. So just give it a little minute, or there's always your blow dryer, and that way you will avoid it getting too muddy. Now, all these colors that I'm using are on the same side of the color wheel, so they're not fighting with each other. It would be really different if I picked up something like a dusty blue, because those are more warm, where these are more cool. All right, so that's the first type of flower. Think you can do those? I bet you can. The other thing that's fun to do just with white is if you go in really, really lightly on your background, you can usually see just a little bit of, almost looks like baby's breath here and there. That shows up much better if you actually have a background color. I'm using my tape on the side. So another little tip I have for you guys, when you are working in a multimedia pad, I like to tape around the edges with painter's tape, because that way when I'm finished, I can just take off the painter's tape and I'll have a nice clean edge around what I painted. This is what Miss Stacy did last night, and I got to join her. It was kind of fun. So and here's another one that I had done with the palette knife, and just because I had put the tape around, it gives me a little bit of a cleaner edge. All right, next up we are going to do some little petal flowers. And the petal flowers can either be done with a flat brush or a round brush. You can either take your flat brush and your paint, any color, I'm going to use my yellow, and just lay your brush down, pick it up, lay it down, pick it up. The yellow is really hard to see. Let me do this with a red, just because I'm doing on top of the green. So sorry, we'll do a red one. So I'm just pulling my paint out of my puddle, set down, pick up, sit down, pick up, sit down, and they can have 5, 6 petals, however many you may want. And we'll come back and add centers to them too. And I would do those with however, you do them with all the colors or just some of the colors. 1, 2, 3, 4, how about one more? How about here? We'll let those dry just a second while I show you some of the things we can do with the round flowers. In the round flowers, there's 2 basic differences that I do with the round flowers. One of them is I take and just make a circle and let them dry. And come back and add the center. Or the other way is I can make my circle, and while it's still wet, I like to use a round brush and go into a coordinating color. So in this case, I'm going to go into white. I'm just picking up the tip, and I start in the middle, and I make a little circle, and I swirl it out. So it's got some almost white in the center, and then it it blends in with the purple. So you can do this either way. And again, you can do these with a round brush. If I fill this in and then just pick up my white, just on the tip, start my center, and twirl out. With the purple ones, you're either going to do that or you're just going to want to use just a dot in the center of either white, or you could even use yellow. I like to make each of them a little different. And in the red ones that we just did, you could go in and use a black center or a white center or a yellow center. Any of those colors would work. This is going to do a black one here, and a black one down here. How about a yellow one center here? And I'm just touching it down lightly, and we'll do a couple white centers. One here, and one there. All right, I'm going to come back and do our circle flowers some more with some of the other colors that we have on our palette. So we did it with the purple. I'm going to pick up some yellow, and we've got one here, maybe one here. And again, this is one of those things that I could just let it dry and come back and add a color center. Or if I'm putting on a lot of paint like I am with these, I can come in and pick up either, white's always safe, mostly always safe, or I can pick up something like a red that's going to be stronger in the center, just picking up just the tip and just a little twirl. I'm barely touching down. I am not smooshing it down and turning it. I'm starting with my, let's show you, my yellow, but then when I'm picking up my red, I am just lightly touching and just making a little twirl, so I've got that little bit of a funky little flower center. And if like I'm working on paper or sometimes canvas and it starts to dry quickly, we just go back and we add another coat. Now, when I'm doing these flowers, sorry, puppies are barking at me, with this much paint, one thing I really want you to remember is you're going to want to make sure your paint is completely dry before you put anything on it, or if you're working on wood and you want to varnish it or something, you're going to really want to make sure this paint is completely dry, because you're adding texture and you're adding body by adding the extra amounts of paint. So I'm going to come in here with my little red circles inside here. It is a busy, busy weekend at our house. We have much going on, much of it with our grandchildren, which will be so much fun. Can't wait. So we've got some yellow, we've got some purple, and I'm going to come in and add some red round ones as well. And I'm going to make sure I get some all the way down toward the bottom of my painting. Because like I said, I put the tape on so that when I pull it off, I'll have a nice clean edge. And you're just going to fill them where you want. I can go up higher if I wanted to. I like to keep them a little smaller as I come down toward the base of them. You can see on this guy, it's just got he's taller, and then he just has the small round ones. So you don't always have to do all of it. Yikes. So we've just added the red. With the red, if I'm going to swirl, I would be picking up my white and going in the center and giving it a little twirl. Or like I did with that petal flower, I could also do that with yellow. It'll kind of give it a different kind of orangey center. Or I could do just a black dot. I wouldn't want to twirl the black because it would get kind of muddy pretty fast. But I think when you do the little black dots in the red ones, they almost look like poppies. Or I think they kind of look like poppies. Now I'm going to come and do some just white ones. And some clean white. to kind of break up a couple spots where it's a lot of color for me. I have got like 12 million brushes going tonight, and I have no idea why. It's not my norm. I'm picking up white, and even if you can't completely see it because of the background showing through, and notice too, I'm making some of these really small and some of these really big, because that just again adds some depth and variation to our project. Any of the colors we have on our plate would work to go in and make our little swirl. I'm a little partial to purple in my middle of these. Again, just setting it down lightly and just twisting it a little bit. These are faux wildflowers. They don't have particular names. We're not painting tulips and daffodils and forget-me-nots. Although if you'd like to paint those, check us out on Cheers to Creativity, because we have those coming up as classes very soon. Classes on birds, just all sorts of stuff going on. All right. This is where I would decide if I needed some more greenery, which this piece definitely looks like it could use some. And I can come back in, and now where I kind of know I've got the flowers laying, I can lay in some leaves or pull up some taller grasses that would be closer to the flowers. What I do like to do is come in with a metallic white, or maybe even a little glitter. Very little, not a ton. I'm kind of a glitter girl, so. And just whether I'm going to take and use that white and just maybe tap a little bit on some of my taller flowers. And the metallic pearl white doesn't really come off as white as it does just a tiny bit of a shimmer. And I'm not doing a ton of it. Touch here and there. And if my circles were dry, I could do it on there too. Or like I said, if you are so inclined to be a glittery person, my go-to is Craft Twinkles. And I can pick that up and add it to anything that's dry, if there is anything dry. And this is a couple of my little petal ones. And this is a little, maybe even just a couple little strokes on the drier spots. Or we can come back after we add our green. Just gives it a little something, something. So I'm going to come back in with a little more of my dark green. If I can get some dark green on my plate. And I'm going to pull, just with my chisel edge of my brush, I'm going to lay it next to my flower, and I'm just going to pull it up. So it looks almost like he's got those, those longer, they're kind of leaves, or kind of like they encompass them too. And if I pull up on the chisel edge of my brush, it gets skinnier. And I don't have to do it just next to the tall ones. I can come down in here, and I might mix a couple of the greens together. So I'm setting my brush down and pulling it up. Setting it down and pulling it up. And just determining how far and how big I want those to be. Areas like in here, I can just come in and set my brush down and pull off to any side, so it kind of looks like there are leaves surrounding the flowers. Have you had an opportunity to watch some of the other ladies paint? I know there's been some really fun projects, and more to come tomorrow. The nice thing is that these projects stay housed in here for some time, so you can come back if you missed something over the weekend, or if your friend tells you, oh, you should have seen what Stacy did on Thursday night. You can go back and check it out. And we all love to do this because we'd like to share what we do with you, and we'd really love for you to go and like all of our pages. It really helps us. It helps us get more people to know what we do, and then the more people who know what we do, then things like Facebook let more and more people know that we're here. It's kind of a weird thing with their little algorithms, but we play the game. All right, so that would be the extent that I would probably leave this for my wildflowers. My wildflowers can be just an entire painting, or they could be a background to something else. There could be, maybe I didn't have them quite that heavy, and I could do that and have a scene in front of a house or something. You can do this just like in the corners of your painting and have something in the middle. Excuse me, needed to get a drink of water. So let me know if you'd like to see more of any one type of flower. I'm more than happy to show. I'm going to show you again on the bucket just to, why am I doing this upside down? I'm so used to painting upside down. But I'm going to show you this too, because this one has a few more of the petal flowers. But again, you can tell we're going to start by just doing the grasses, then doing the tall flowers, we'll call them. And the one thing you can tell on this side that I did after I got all finished was I actually added some little white dots too. All right, trying to figure out how I'm going to do this so you can see this well. I'm going to move this out of the way for a second. Not sure where it's going. How about there? And I'm just going to lay. This was a new galvanized bucket, and it was a little too shiny for me, so I just sponged some blues and grays, and then we've had such pretty sunrises and sunsets here lately that I picked up a couple some of the pinks and the yellows too, so you could see that as well. So I'm going to start like I did on our mixed media pad with a flat brush. I'm going to start at the base, and I'm going to go up and down and up and down and up and down. It's really not a science in any way, shape, or form. I'm just going to try to make sure I've gone all the way to connect to the other side. I'm going to pick up some of that lighter green, or maybe green and white. And as you could tell from when we did it on the paper, you really don't see the blades of grass individually much. Kind of just become part of your background. And again, if you wanted to do this with a round brush, it's the exact same thing. You're picking up your paint, and you're just going up and down and up and down and up and down. See how much paint I can get on my fingers while I do this too. All right, so I've got some grasses. I'm just going to kind of roll it around to make sure they look similar or about the same height. It looks like I need to bring a few up higher, which I will do. Just pick up a little more, and we'll just go a little higher in a couple spots. And like we did with the palette paper, the multimedia pad, we can always come back and add some more when we get our flowers in. All right, so I'm going to pick up some red with my round brush, and I'm just going to dab, 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 dab. Get a little skinnier toward my top. And let me know if I need to adjust this up or down at all for y'all, because like I said, apparently what I am seeing on my iPad is not what my husband was seeing on his phone. And for me to look upside down to see what this is even more challenging. But one more about here. I think why those are still wet, because I had picked up yellow on the other ones. We'll pick up a tiny bit of yellow here too. And I'm not pushing down hard, just enough so it blends with the color underneath it a little bit. Tap, 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 tap. And if I should get too much yellow, I can always come back and tap on some more of the red. There are no wrongs, just design changes. Okay, let's do a couple of yellows, straight yellows ones. So there, do one over here. more over here? No, one here, two, I think. Sometimes they're close, sometimes they're far apart. And for this guy, I'm going to pick up a little white and highlight his one side. When I'm putting the highlight on these, I'm only doing one side. Why? Just the way I do them. Doesn't mean it's the only way to do them. If we were doing something that was a little more driven by which way the light was coming and that type of thing, we might be looking at shadows and highlights a little differently. Okay. So we've done our yellow and our red. Need to pull in a little bit of purples. I'm making lots of noise, so sorry. So I picked up my purples. We'll do just a couple purple. When you're applying this much paint, you do go through a lot of paint. If you are going to be watering this down, like to do this more like a watercolor, then obviously you would not be going through as much paint. All right. And here I'm going to pick up the white again. Or maybe I'll just go straight into that metallic-y white. Ooh, that's kind of pretty. I know I did not do that on the other side, so that means I'm going to need to go back and put some metallic on the other side too. Okay, so we've got our tall flowers. Now I'm going to come in and lay in, did I do the rounds first? I'm trying to see what I did. We're going to do the rounds next. So I'm going to come in with the rounds just like we did. And almost all these rounds had some of the color in the center. I'm just trying to be consistent. So here's this guy. Pick up a little bit of the white. Go with my red. Pick up a little white. And if my color changes and it becomes a little pink, that's okay too. So all these colors are going to go together because they're from the same side of the color wheel. And one more up here. Sure, I'm getting some down below too. We'll do one more about there. I think we've got enough red going on. And if I want, I can always come back and just a little dab the little black too. Okay, then I'm going to pick out one of the other colors, the yellow, and do some yellows. Some of them are little, a couple little ones together. So I'm going to go right next to, and some of them are further apart. And those, I'm going to pick up that red and kind of do a quick little circle inside, set it down, a little twist, set it down, a little twist, twist. Maybe I'll leave a couple of these and fill those in with just a touch of black too, just so there's some variance. I have a ring light and it looks like I'm painting all over it. I don't think that was the plan today. So I'm going to add just dots of black, or just using the very tip of my brush and tapping down, just so that we have some variation. And even if I have ones that I had already done the orange in the middle, I can still add that. Then I think we're going to lighten our purple with a little bit of white. So instead of being straight the dark purple, these were actually more of a lavender. Some of them were much lighter, some of them were a little lighter. And I just kind of brush mixed that as I went, meaning I picked up a little purple, a little white, and however the color came off my brush, that's how it happened. And I got to remember to leave a little room for my petal flowers that I'm going to show you too. So I can come back and I can either add a little more dark purple to that or a little more white. Either way, just to give it, again, that break in the one-dimensional color. So here's a little darker purple, and a little darker one up here. And I'll pick up white. And a little darker over here. And when those dry, if I decided I wish they had a little more of something in them, I can do that. I can come back and add a little white to red, so that is a stronger white. But I sometimes need to just let things dry. Okay, last thing I want to show you on this guy is using my brown brush again, and I'm just going to find a way to make this not roll. So I've just picked up white on my brush. I am going to set that down and lift it up. Set it down and lift it up. Push it down and lift it up. And I'm lifting toward the center. And if I happen to have a little bit of any of the other colors mixed on my brush or on the very tip of my brush, I'm going to get those colors to blend by pushing down and lifting up. If for some reason they get to be too dark, I can always come back and go back over them with a white. Maybe pick up some white and a little red. Push down, lift up, push down, lift up. And there's no right number of petals. Maybe I'm going to try picking up some of the metallic white. And it's okay if they cross over some of your other flowers. Flowers don't know to stay in their own little spot. They grow where they want to. And I think we might need, you could do these with any color. I just liked picking the white up because there was so much other colors happening with these wildflowers. I thought the white kind of was a nice little break. And again, if you want me to send you the little sheet that I did up that lists some of the little tips of mixing the colors and also on things to paint them on, all you need to do is just stick wildflowers down below, and I'll make sure I come back and add that in some way. Oh, thank you so much, Mary, for sprinkling that. If you don't know what sprinkling means, it means you're letting some of your friends know by just taking this and sharing the video. But Facebook doesn't like that word, so we sprinkle. And we very much do appreciate when you do that for us. I'm going to look real quick and see if I can see any other comments. And look centered, thank you. And as I've moved 12 million times, right? Yeah, that's just how it goes. But so if you have any questions at all, let me know. If there's something else you think you'd like to see this on, you can let me know that too, because I'm always looking for things to do. On my page on Tuesdays, we do a thing called TTT, Tips, Techniques, and Teachings. And I try every Tuesday to come on and tell you something, either to give you a tip, maybe it might be on how to use a round brush or how to use a whisk brush, or it might be a particular technique on shading or possibly double loading, just things that can make your painting just a little more interesting and a little more fun. These petal flowers we did need a little bit centers, and I'm just going to choose for now to just pick up on the tip of my round brush what's left of my black, and I'm just going to tap a little bit in the center. I'm not making just one dot. It's almost like several little dots. The other way you could do that, it would be to take the end of your brush, and if I actually had paint, it would help. I've run out of black paint. I've run out of black paint, have a big thing of it, and it's not coming out. If I just do a couple little dots, those work too. Could have done that with yellow centers as well. And then as I showed you on the opposite side, I can't roll this completely or it's going to be one smeared mess. I wonder if I did this on the others as well. I did. So on the bottle, you see the white dots? After I got all done painting, I came back in and the little white dots really show up too. And you can even see some of that fluffy brush whites in here. Set that there. I'm going to use the end of my brush, white paint. The white helps break up all the color. I did not go back with the side and add any extra leaves again. I think it's pretty filled. And it should show up on this one a lot better. So I tried to show you with the scruffy brush. I've lost my scruffy brush. I haven't moved. How can I possibly lose my brush? Everyone needs a talent. That seems to be mine today. So this is a pretty scruffy brush too. So if I take white and just tap it a little bit off and just very lightly, almost more like baby's breath in there. I don't need to do it everywhere. All right, well, we've done our bucket and we did set it up. If I set it up, you guys are just going to see the inside of it. It looks pretty done all the way around. Set that aside. Those little flowers can be great to fill in with something. This is just using the rounds inside this watering can. Makes it really kind of fun and springy. If I bring back the guy we did here, you'll notice too that as your colors dry, they kind of blend a little bit more together. So it's kind of a nice little thing. And that is about all I have for you tonight. Again, I'd be glad to flip this over. There, I'm not upside down. Very glad to send that little PDF your way. Just let me know. I will be back here tomorrow at, what time? 3 o'clock, and we're going to be doing Peter the Bunny. I will have him posted, and I will have a tracer posted for him too. And that about takes my time. So I hope you enjoyed. Please, any questions, let me know. Please come over and like us at Cheers to Creativity. We'd love to have you. We'd love to get to know you a little better. And until I see you again, please be safe, be kind, and cheers. Bye-bye.